All right, joining us now. We don't need to ask Greg Olsen about the plug. He's wearing the plug, both the T-shirt and the hat. That's why he's here. Tight End University, 5th annual, coming again. Greg Olsen, one of the guys who founded it, joining us now. Also, if you haven't heard, he's a multiple Emmy-winning analyst for the NFL on Fox. Greg, great to see you, buddy. How are you?
Oh, it's great to be on, man. Thanks for having me, Mike. I appreciate it.
Hey, it's always great to talk to you, and we're going to talk some football. But let's get started with why you're here. Coming up in Nashville next month. You've started it, and it's still going strong, and it seems like it goes stronger than ever every year, Tight End University.
Yeah, it's gonna be year number 5. And it's funny, everyone asks, like, how did you guys come up with this idea? And it was literally a simple text message on a group message. I had retired after the 20 season. So it was off season of 21, and Kittle and I had gotten to know each other a little bit. And he texted me, he's like, hey, if you ever come down to Nashville, a bunch of tight ends spend the off seasons down here. We should do like a little tight end camp and come down. At the time, they were all kind of early in their career and kind of getting started. And from that conversation, we got Kelsey involved. And our first year, we thought we were going to have 5 or 6 guys back in 21. And little did we know we were going to have 75 tight ends ending up showing up in Nashville. The event has taken on a life of its own. So this will be year 5 in Nashville. They host us at Vanderbilt, which is a incredible campus, an incredible facility. And it's a mix of fun. And obviously you get Kelsey and Kittle and all these guys in Nashville. We've been down to Broadway a couple times. And then also we do field work and classwork, and we really get into the nitty gritty of the football world. So it's really become a special event. It's on our calendar every summer, and the interest in it just continues to grow.
Why do you think it has taken off specifically for the tight end position? Others, pass rushers, have done it in the past. It pops up. There's discussions about running backs banding together. Why do you think it really has resonated with the tight ends and developed to the point where it now is?
Yeah, so I think it's twofold. So I think there's an element to the event is the nature of the position, where I think it's still a blue collar, hardworking, kind of maybe an underappreciated position in a lot of ways, where a lot of these guys kind of have a little more humble beginnings. Maybe they were moved to tight end from a quarterback or a wide receiver or a defensive position, where it always wasn't a big deal to be a tight end. It's a lot different now being a tight end than it was when I came into the league, 15 years ago. So I think there's a nature of the type of guy, hardworking, blue collar-ish type of a vibe. And then I think there's also the element of it is a glamorous position enough that there's plenty to do, right? There's route running. We have quarterbacks down there throwing balls. We're dissecting coverages, and Kelsey's giving, route running, kind of seminar clinics in the classroom, and we're out on the field. So there's enough on the field that it's exciting. It's fun to watch. But then the type of guy that we get, they're not afraid to work. They're not afraid to come in. They don't pretend they have all the answers. We're not dragging guys out of the bars and out of the clubs to get to practice. So I think it's the perfect balance. And then the real part is, I think the reason it's grown from year 1 is it's an incredibly, we got to get you down to check it out. It is an incredible event. We have unbelievable sponsors, unbelievable partners that pay for the entire thing. The remaining proceeds all go to charity. Bud Light now for our 5th year is our presenting sponsor, and New Era. And, we have so many incredible partners. We've given away hundreds of thousands of dollars to charity. So not only do we put on a great event and fly all these guys and put them all up for 3 days in Nashville, but then we also get to make a community impact above and beyond the event with all of the remaining proceeds. So it's the right group of guys. It's the right format. And we're able to throw a really top of the line event that guys, look forward to bringing their wives, their girlfriends. They make a couple days in the summer in Nashville, and they make it a point to come every year.
How do you decide who gets to go and who doesn't get to go? Is it open to all tight ends on any NFL roster?
Yeah, it's open to everyone. And I think what's so cool about it, Mike, we're sitting in the classroom, and you have Travis Kelsey and Kittle, and, we had Dallas Clark legends. This year, Jeremy Shockey is our legend. So, but then you have guys who they're undrafted rookie free agents that are hoping to maybe make the practice squad, or guys that, so the way we always put it when we address the guys in the first round, whether you've made your first Pro Bowl and you're trying to make your second, whether you've made your first contract and you're trying to make your second, maybe you've never made an active roster, maybe you've been a practice squad guy, and that next step is to make an active roster, or you're a backup and you want to be a starter. Every guy in the room has that next rung of the ladder that they're looking to climb. TEU hopefully can be a tool to allow them to just take that next step. And it doesn't matter where you are on that journey, where you are on that rung, everyone is in it together. And I think that's kind of, touch on what makes it so special. That camaraderie and that ability where you don't have to be Travis Kelce and George Kittle to be able to stand tall in the room, raise your hand and ask a question. There's a feeling of like belonging, a feeling of, hey, this is in my best interest to further my career. We have guys of all experiences, all success levels, famous guys, internationally famous guys, and guys that maybe you've never heard of. We have everybody in between, and that's what makes it. But yes, everyone is invited. We send it out to everyone, and then it's on RSVP basis.
I was thinking earlier about your career. I recall first round pick 2007, and I never know whether or not my memories are accurate, but I do have a memory of you signing your contract with the Bears right around the 4th of July, back when it used to be 4th of July, not Memorial Day weekend, when most of these deals were done. And it's 18 years. Like, from your perspective, is it nuts to think that 18 years have gone by? For me, it's like that. What's it been like for you?
Yeah, I mean, and it's funny. I have vivid memories of when Pro Football Talk was in its infancy, and I was in my parents', and this is a God's honest truth. So it was right after the 2007 NFL Combine, and I had run a good 40 time, and I'll never forget it. You could probably pull this up, I'm sure, in your archives. I'm sitting in my parents' house in New Jersey that spring after the Combine. So this is probably March, April time, getting ready for the draft in April. And the headline was like, Olsen shoots up first round with 4-5. And I remember, like, if Pro Football Talk said it, that was a big deal. So like, I remember, and the site did not look like it did now. There was no videos. It was a very like archaic kind of just running list of articles. And so now to think how far all of us have come and how far media has come and how far I've come in my career. And I never would have imagined that I'd be working with Fox and calling, a Super Bowl a couple years ago and calling games every weekend, and now doing this in a post career. To see how far the NFL has come, the media relationship with the NFL that all of us are in different form or fashion. It's amazing how much can change in, as you said, 18 years. But I remember those days very well, just hoping to get drafted and hoping Florio at Pro Football Talk knew what he was talking about.
Well, that's right. And sometimes I do. And even to this day, sometimes I don't. When did the flame first flicker for you that you wanted to call games?
Yeah, so it's kind of a fun story. So Kevin Burkhardt, who was my first partner at Fox, is actually a longtime friend. He when he was working up through the early ranks of his career in sports media, he actually covered my high school games in New Jersey. He went to William Patterson College, which was in my hometown in Jersey, and he would come on Friday nights and cover our high school football teams for the local AM radio station. And he would do he always jokes his first ever production meeting was with my dad, who was the coach of the high school team. So this was back in like 2014 or 15. I had done a couple small regional Fox, Fox Sports South. At the time, they had all these like regional networks. And I had done some lower level stuff on ACC Network and Fox Sports South and some different stuff. And Fox asked me, they said, hey, you're going to be out in LA. I was out visiting a buddy. And they're like, why don't you come by the studio and just do a studio rehearsal? And we'll put you in the studio. It'll be a game that's already recorded. And your partner is going to be Kevin Burkhardt. So that was comforting. And I sat in there and I remember walking out and I was like, you know what? I didn't know what I was doing, but I felt like I could do it. And then in 2017, they asked me if I wanted to join a 3-man booth again with Kevin, and Charles Davis at the time was his partner, and did a 3-man booth on my bye week. And then in 2019, I did one with Kenny Albert. So I don't know if I ever imagined, if you would ask me, in 2013, 10 years into my career, so like, hey, do you want to do TV after? I probably wouldn't have said yes. I probably would have said, I have no idea. I'm playing. But once I got a taste of it, I knew that calling games was a differentiator, maybe between some other guys sitting at desks and whatnot. And after walking out of that rehearsal that no one would ever see outside of the executives, I remember I said, you know what? If I had studied this and I learned this, I could definitely do it, because the football part is easy. And from there, I just got opportunity after opportunity, and then obviously joined them full time after I retired following the 2020 season.
My next question would be regarded as the elephant in the room, but I've seen you talk about it extensively. You embrace it. It's part of the reality. Balancing being a good teammate at Fox with your own personal ambitions. You were the number one analyst. Now you're not. Where does that stand for you now? And what is your plan moving forward? Because presumably you want to get back to being number one somewhere, calling these games and being in line to do another Super Bowl.
Yeah, and I always start off all of these comments by saying the same thing. From over the last, I always knew Tom. I always knew Tom just from playing against each other, and we would say hi before and after games, and our relationship was more on like a professional level, just from being competitors and playing against each other. I've gotten to know Tom a lot more on a personal level now since his time at Fox, and I have to say, I try to be a great teammate. He couldn't be a better teammate, and now someone I'd call a friend. And really, it's been over the last year or two. We've golfed. We've hung out down in Miami and gone golfing together. We've gone out to dinner. We've traded stories and chatted NFL topics or just what it's like raising a teenage daughter. Just normal friend type stuff that our relationship was not prior that it is now, and I'm thankful for that. And he couldn't be a better teammate to me. And in return, I've tried to be the best teammate I can to him, giving whatever. I always struggle saying I give other people advice, especially a guy like Brady. Like, what the hell am I really going to tell you? But I do think there is an element of, he's early in his broadcasting career. So am I. These are the mistakes that I made. I wish I knew. Maybe I can share them with you. So our relationship, much to the demise of probably the speculation and whatnot, is very, very good on both a professional and a personal level. My aspirations for my career and I've had great, honest conversations with Fox. They've been great in return, understanding this with me. My aspirations have never changed. I want to call great games. They know that. Everyone knows that. But that has no bearing on my working relationship with them right now, my working relationship with Joe Davis, who just won an Emmy, and Pam Oliver, and my amazing crew. So I'm on a great crew calling great games at a network that believed in me from the beginning. I'm very grateful of that. My aspirations to go above and beyond are completely separate from the people I currently work with, to my current partners, and the network that I'm on. So like I've said in years past, and it gets kind of portrayed, Olsen wants to leave. No, I want to call Super Bowls again. And that is one side of the equation. And the other side is, as we said before we jumped on the air, Mike, we're not digging ditches. We're all very fortunate to be in the media positions that we're in, to have the seats that we have. A lot of people would do anything to have them. And I'm thankful for where I am, but that doesn't mean that I'm content. And I think if you asked anybody that's competitive in any line of work, they would say the same thing. And that's how I was as a player. And that's how I'll be in this second chapter of my career. But it has no bearing, Tom and I's relationship, Fox and I's relationship, all of that is very positive. And my personal aspirations of my career are going to continue to be what they are.
Yeah, we were talking beforehand about getting a break. And as soon as we get a break, we're both wired to say, let's get back to it. Because at the end of the day, it really isn't work and it's fun. And we'd be spending a certain amount of our bandwidth anyway, paying attention to the NFL. Let me ask you a question about, it's still the story of the moment. It's died down, but I think it's going to hover over the season. And I think the league is going to make a run at getting rid of the play again next year because it was so close to being successful. What are your thoughts on, and I've accepted the fact that the name is the tush push and everybody calls it the tush push. I wish that wasn't the name, but that's what it is. What are your thoughts on where that stands? And do you think it's still on the endangered species list?
So I think the answer is kind of twofold. I do think it's on the endangered species list. If you put a gun to my head and said I had to make a decision, I would imagine at some point it is going to be banned. I personally do not think it should be banned. So I guess my personal opinion and how I actually see it going over the next year or two probably don't align. I'm of the thought that we should not penalize a team for being uniquely good at one aspect of the game. And I know there's a lot of player safety. I don't necessarily buy it. I think there's a lot of teams that don't run the play, a la the Kansas City Chiefs, because Mahomes a couple years ago dislocated his knee, running a quarterback sneak, albeit a different version, but nonetheless, like there's some teams that don't want to do it with their quarterback. So the player safety is actually falling on that side of the ball. I know defenders don't love it. I know they don't like it, but guess what? There's a lot of aspects of the game that a lot of people don't like. We have not seen another team around the league run the play as efficiently as Philadelphia. And I think in this case, would be pretty singularly isolated them and say, okay, this punishes you, because remember, it changes everything. And we've talked a lot about this on Philly games we've had over the last couple of years. Everything they do from the minus 40-yard line, that's 60 yards from the minus 40 to the goal line. Everything they do in that area of the field is contingent upon, it's not 1st and 10, it's 1st and 8, right? They have 2 yards in their back pocket. So on 2nd down is 1st down, and on 3rd and 6, they don't have to get 7 yards. They only got to get 4 because they have that. That is ingrained in how Sirianni has built that team, how they call plays. This year, obviously, Kellen Moore. Like, it is ingrained in every decision that they do because of that play and the success of that play. And they've been able to do it with Kelsey, and then people said, oh, they won't do it without Kelsey, and now they do it without him. Like, it is just something they are uniquely built to do. Teams have not figured out a great way to stop it. But other teams, we saw Buffalo struggle with quarterback sneak, and they didn't have the same result with a big, strong quarterback. So it's not as easy as everybody thinks. And I think punishing Philadelphia and, in essence, changing how they've built their entire philosophy as an offense, I think would be unfair. And I don't think that's the direction the NFL should go. I think they should be allowed to do it. And if you can't stop it, that's the way it goes.
Yeah, we always hear it's a copycat league. And when you have a team that has come up with some new innovation, it's out there for anyone to see. And there are 2 aspects to it, Greg. 1, do it yourself. 2, stop it. And everyone's got the fair opportunity to do it. But I believe the league office is determined to get rid of it. And I suspect that they'll now be looking for any evidence they can. Any injury data that can be crammed into that box is going to be stuck there because they're just 2 votes away. Somebody said to me last week, well, Jeffrey Lurie can be trying to convince some of the 22 over to his side. Yeah, but in that hierarchy, the commissioner's got a little more juice than any owner. And I feel like he's right at the finish line. It's just a matter of convincing 2 teams to do it. And he's got a year to do it, almost.
And
I think it's going to happen.
I agree with you. And then I think the other piece that you have to look at from a big kind of holistic view is it's not an overly aesthetically pleasing play. Right. So I do think, and I understand where Goodell and the NFL is coming from an entertainment value, from a sexy play, from a fun play. It is not an aesthetically pleasing. If you are not a Eagles fan, there is nothing exciting about a bunch of guys. It's a rugby scrum, and we're just pushing the ball a yard to 2.5 yards to just pick up a fresh set of downs. So while highly effective. So I understand from the NFL's perspective, trying to say, okay, let's eliminate a play that is not, but then you're going to eliminate a fullback dive. Are you going to eliminate a quarterback sneak if we don't push the quarterback? Like, I think it just gets into, if it's an effective play, really only 1 team has mastered it. If 31 teams were doing it at 95% clip, at least it would be a punishment equally distributed across the league. I think this is very singularly punishing Philadelphia. And I don't think it's Philadelphia's responsibility to alter their philosophy because the rest of the league can't do it.
And I was of the mind, Greg, that it is an ugly play. But now that we know it's the play that the league office hates, my perception of it is changing. I want them to come out when we're there for NBC Thursday night, Cowboys-Eagles, 1st down and 10 from the 30-yard line. Run it, baby. Let's do a whole drive of tush push. Let's just incorporate it into the base offense, regardless of whether it's 1 or 2 yards remaining to get to the 1st down or the touchdown.
So I'm calling it right now. If I'm Sirianni, who I love, and I think he's hysterical, and I love everything about him, and we could go on and on about that. I think there's going to be a time where it's going to be 4-minute offense at the end of the game, and I know you got Saquon, and he's incredible. I think as just a you-know-what to the league, or to the, not to like Goodell league, but just the overall league of the people saying, all right, you're going to vote against us? When we need 10 yards to put a game away before we take a knee, I think Sirianni on 1st down is going to run the tush push. And on 2nd down, he's going to run the tush push, and 3rd and 4th. And I think they're going to see, I'm convinced if they have 4 downs to run the tush push, they could get a 1st down without running any other play. I think they could. They haven't tried it, but I almost feel like this is the year to do it, Sirianni, and give it a shot.
Greg, I have learned that I'm monopolizing your time. You have more of these. How dare these other people expect you to show up? We're having a good conversation here. Okay. It sounded conspicuously like an invitation. I won't hold you to it, but Tight End University coming in Nashville next month, presenting sponsor Bud Light, a great overall product that you guys have put together. All the best to you and all the tight ends who'll be gathering in Nashville. And thanks for some of your time, Greg. All the best to you and your family.
Yeah, anytime. Look forward to coming back. Appreciate it.
Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.